I'll show you how to move, rotate and scale layer content within your document. Okay, so there are two distinct ways in which we can select layer content. The first is to go to the Layers panel here, and then we can actually click to highlight and select our layer content. Now the other approach is to select the Move tool from the toolbar here, and then actually on the canvas we can just click to select the layer content. So to move content, I'll just select this first layer here. We can simply click drag using the mouse. So if I just start click dragging, we can move our layer content around like so. Then once we're happy, we can release the mouse button to commit the move. To rotate content, we can either click drag on the top rotation handle here, or if we hover over any of the four corners, we can find a little rotation icon. And once we have that active, we can click drag to rotate as well. Now, if we hold Shift, it will constrain the rotation to 15-degree increments. Okay, so now scaling content. We can scale content from any of the outside control handles. So for example, if I start click dragging on the corner handle here, we can start to scale the content. Now, just a quick note about aspect ratio constraining. Notice here that the aspect ratio is not constrained by default. This is because we're actually transforming or scaling a rectangle layer, which is vector content, and that does not constrain the aspect ratio by default. However, if we hold Shift, we can toggle this behavior. Just to quickly demonstrate, if I expand this rectangle, you'll see what I've done is clipped an image layer inside it. If I start to scale this image layer, notice it does constrain the aspect ratio by default. So pixel and image layers will constrain by default. Other content, like rectangle, vector layers, they do not constrain by default. But again, you can toggle that behavior simply by holding Shift on the keyboard. Now we can also shear content, and we can hover over any of these four control handles until we get the icon with the two arrows, and we can just click drag to shear like so. Okay. Now, so far we've manipulated layer content on the canvas, but we can also use the transform panel down here. So we have X and Y positioning, width and height, rotation and shear. And we can type in exact measurements. So for example, I could click into X here and type 18 millimeters and hit return. So we can get exact positioning. And also rotation and shearing, we can either just click in and type values, like for example 15 degrees, or we can click on the little icon here and simply use a slider which has hard stops at common values to do our transforming instead. Finally then, we also have the control point. So this defaults to the top left, but I could move this to the center, for example, and now when I rotate, it rotates around the center point. I could also move it to the bottom right, and if I go to shear, it will shear using the bottom right point as the origin. So there we go. Just a quick look at transforming and manipulating layer content within your document.